Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's MOPAR comparison, we're looking at the 2022 Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat Widebody and the Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat Widebody. So we get a lot of comments on our Charger and Challenger reviews. Which model should you go with? We have the top dog for both of these models with the Hellcat motors in them. So let's get right into it and see which one is better and which one you should pick. Both of these have the same engine, but we'll start off with the Charger here. This is a 6.2 liter supercharged V8 paired to the 8-speed automatic. It pumps out 797 horsepower and 707 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent to the rear wheels. This weighs in right around 4,500 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. For this family sedan, it has a top speed of 196 miles an hour. And for the fuel economy, this is based on an 18.5 gallon tank. You'll expect around 12 miles per gallon in the city, 22 out on the highway. And for size comparison, this Charger has a wheelbase of 120 inches and an overall length of 291 inches. Now, as we move over to the Challenger, same 6.2 liter supercharged V8. However, you can also get a 6-speed manual or the 8-speed automatic, just like in the Charger. Produces the same 797 and 707 sent to the rear wheels. This weighs in right around 4,400 pounds, so surprising to see there's not that big of a weight difference between the two-doored and the four-doored. This can do 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds with a top speed of 203 miles an hour. Same fuel capacity, and you can expect to see around 13 miles per gallon in the city, 22 out on the highway. And this has a wheelbase of 116.2 and an overall length of 197.5. Now, as we move on to the exterior styling, you're going to see a lot of similarities between the Charger and the Challenger. So starting off with the Charger, there's a lot of air inlets to provide cooling to this engine, as well as heat extraction vents in the hood to give that engine even more cooling. This is very functional for the front end design. Massive hood scoop right in the middle. And it even has LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals. You can see the SRT badge, really nice lines that run throughout the front bumper as well. So for this family muscle car sedan, definitely gives it a very distinctive front end design. Over on the Challenger now, the front end is a little bit different. The upper grille is stretched a little bit longer and kind of set back slightly. The headlights and the high beams do have a different design. And the inner housing also has a cutout, so that way more airflow can get channeled right in between the DRL and the turn signal. This has LED headlights, of course, as well. But the grills are much different, but they still have the same functionalities. This model here even has dual hood scoops to provide even more airflow up front, and a very massive lower front splitter. So you can get a few different options and basically set these up the way that you'd like to, just to give that front end the styling that you'd like to see for your own personal car. On the side profile now for the Charger, this being the wide body, you can see these fender flares and how wide they are to accommodate this 20-inch wheel, finished off in matte black with the red brake calipers. This has plenty of stopping power for this family sedan, and I love the sides with the wide body. Just gives it a really distinctive look, especially for the sedan. And then it has really nice lines running down the side, very distinctive for the Charger model. The line starts at the rear fender flare and goes all the way through the front doors and above the door handles, wrapping all the way back to the taillights. Very distinctive, and I love how that line flows nicely, especially with those fender flares. And then over on the Challenger now, the fender flares are very similar, giving it that wide body appearance obviously for the model and to accommodate these wheels and tires, which have a really nice distinctive design. Obviously much different than over on the Charger. Lines are a little bit different too. There's one just underneath the door handle running straight through with a little bit of an arch in that rear fender. And this has the red Brembo brakes to give this a lot of stopping power, especially for how much power that this vehicle produces. Now on the rear end of the Charger, this has a trunk mounted wing. The LED connector bar running right through the trunk, very iconic for the Charger. This has a backup camera with all the parking sensors. Really nice lower diffuser with that dual exhaust. And then over on the Challenger, this has a trunk mounted wing as well, a little bit different design. Backup camera with all the parking sensors, and then the taillights are in a different orientation with that dual oval design. Dual exhaust is also down in the lower diffuser. And then as we move on to the cargo space now, the Challenger has a good amount of space. You can use this button to open up that rear trunk. And as you can tell, there's cutouts on the left and the right side to place a lot of items. Now these back seats do fold down, which means that for this family sedan, you can pack in a lot more items, just depending on if you need that extra amount of storage space. And up underneath, you can even put a few more items. There's access to the battery as well as a tire inflator kit, which is great to see tucked up underneath. Over on the Challenger now, it has the same access to enter the trunk. You can push on that small square button. Now I will say with the Challenger, the trunk space has a good amount of room to it, and the opening is slightly smaller than over on the Charger, but it's still very adequate, especially for the size. And when you fold those seats down, you almost have the same amount of space as over on the Charger. And then up underneath the floor, you have some battery components as well as the speakers. Now I believe if you don't get the speaker option, you can get a little bit extra storage like you saw over on the Charger. And then making your way to the back seats, this is the biggest difference. The Charger is obviously a four-door sedan. So we have the rear doors, which makes it a lot easier to enter and exit. This particular model has the solid red leather interior, so obviously you can spec all of these the way that you'd like to. But as far as the backseat room goes, I have plenty of room for my feet and my legs. I'm 5'10", and as you can tell, even for headroom, I have a few inches above my head. Very spacious for 3 people, as this is a 5-seater vehicle. You can have 3 people in the back, you have the heated seats, and a few auxiliaries as well. Over on the Challenger now, you do have to fold the front seat forwards in order to work your way into the back, where this is still a 3-seater for the back seats. And again, at 5'10", I really don't have any issues. This is very, very identical to the Charger, minus the fact that you do have to enter through the front seats. But I will say the headroom is a little bit less than over on the Charger, of course, but you can have 5 people in this 2-door vehicle. It is that big and roomy to make it a little bit more spacious for the type of vehicle that this is. So if you have a family, if you have car seats, anything like that, you may want to opt for the 4-seater version just to give you better access into those rear seats. And then for the front seats, we're going to start off with this Charger. They have a great design to them. SRT is also in there. These are automatic seats. They have a really nice design to them. And then for the Challenger, the seat is very similar. SRT is right in the middle, but they pretty much retain the same seat, both being Dodges, both being a very similar performance vehicle. Now for the gauge cluster, starting on the Dodge Charger, there is a lot of performance-oriented information that you can go through regarding all the performance that you can do with this vehicle. You can look at your 0 to 60, 0 to 100, your G-force meter, there's a lap timer, your top speed. You can do the same with the Challenger as well. So I love from the factory, both of these have everything that you need to look at. You can monitor all the engine vitals as well. There are so many performance-oriented features for a stock and a factory vehicle where you can drive this right off the lot, go through the braking period, and then take this to the track, and you have all that information easily laid out. Performance pages is the coolest tab, I think, because you can go through pretty much all of the information in the center gauge cluster and monitor that in a larger screen. So again, very cool to see all the performance-oriented features. And on the Challenger, it's the same. A little bit different of a configuration, but it's pretty much an identical system to go through. And you have all of your creature comforts as well, like your AC, your heated and ventilated seats. So while this is a track-focused, performance-oriented vehicle, they're also both great daily drivers and give you all those daily driving characteristics that you're looking for out on the road. Now, underneath the infotainment system in the Charger here, there's a little bit of storage. We have the gear selector right in the middle, and you can use that to shift gears. Backup camera has some good quality to it. There's all of the controls for your AC as well as your music, even launch control and access to the SRT mode. Over on the Challenger now, a little bit different of a design, but all the buttons are the same for the fan speed, volume, radio controls, even the SRT and launch control. Now this model is the automatic. Like I mentioned earlier, you can get a 6-speed manual, which I have been able to drive, and it's pretty awesome to see that you have that option. It would be cool too to see that available in the Dodge Charger as well. Maybe they'll do that at some point, but if you want the manual, you will have to go with the Dodge Challenger. And as we get behind the wheel of this Charger now, I do have everything in track mode. This is the first Charger Hellcat that I've had the red key to. If you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, this car comes with 2 keys. We have the black key, which unleashes around 500 horsepower, so you're limited to that. Or you can use the red key, which gives you all the horsepower that I mentioned earlier. You can go into track, We have all these settings for power, transmission, the paddle shifters, even the suspension, steering, everything like that. So with it in the manual setting here, you can feel those shifts. Now we did hit a few bumps, but I'm not doing anything too crazy today, even though I do have the red key. It is crazy to see that we have this family style oriented sedan with all this track performance. The line lock, you can do burnouts, you can take this to the drag strip, and then yet you could have your kid seats in the back and take this to work. Pretty impressive to see for a factory vehicle like this. All right, here we go. And all of that power goes to the rear wheels. Oh man, it would be neat to see an all-wheel drive version for this. You feel some drama in those shifts. So I wouldn't say they're smooth, but it just adds to that fun factor. I'm sure you can see that a little bit. That supercharger whine, I know you'll be able to hear from the camera audio. It's much louder than the exhaust. You don't hear the exhaust, even though it does have a loud system to it from the outside. Kind of hard to hear it from the inside, to be honest. You hear a lot more of that supercharger, which I can't really complain with. Quick look at visibility over that shoulder again, and then over the left side, it's very, very open. It's really impressive to me to see that Dodge is taking the time to make a vehicle like this from the factory, so you can buy it ready to go. This one is past the break-in period, so you could hop in this, use your line lock so you can do a burnout to warm up those rear tires, take this out to the drag strip, beat whatever it is that is out there, and just have some fun in this straight from the dealer lot. So it's pretty impressive to see that. Now from second gear, we'll give it a little bit of gas. Nothing too crazy. You can hear that supercharger whine. I know the camera's gonna pick that up. Nothing too crazy there. You almost hear more of the supercharger whine than you do the exhaust. This is actually cornering or taking these turns very well. For a 4,400 pound vehicle, rear wheel drive, and all this horsepower, it's pretty nice to see that it can take turns. So you can take this out on the track. You really just have a really versatile vehicle. You have the back seats. You can have 4 other people in here with you, out on the track, out on the drag strip if they allow more than one person. You have all that room in the trunk. We'll take another look at visibility where you can see, you can look over that left window there as well as out of the back. And we have our side mirror over my left shoulder. You can see out of that back window too. So it's really not all that hard to see around this. You can hear that supercharger whine. And now coming back to our final thoughts between the Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat Widebody and the Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat Widebody. Both of these are very cool MOPAR muscle cars, and it really just depends on your personal preference. You could buy the Challenger and still utilize those back seats. You could put car seats back there. You can fit full-size adults in the back seats. So if you don't want a 4-door vehicle, you can make it work with the 2-door vehicle. There's plenty of space in the back of the Challenger. The Charger and the Challenger have similar looking characteristics to them, but they do vary in some aspects as well. So it just depends on which shape you like better, as well as that practicality. With the Charger, you have easier access to the back seats, a little bit more room since it is overall a little bit longer being the 4-door. However, if you do want the manual transmission, you do have to go with the Challenger because it is not offered in the Charger. So that is a big aspect. If you want 3 pedals, you only have one option to go with. Both of them have the same amount of horsepower, pretty similar performance, and it's pretty crazy to see that the Charger doesn't weigh that much more than the Challenger, being 4-door versus 2-door. So you will have very similar driving characteristics as well. You'll have the same fuel economy and pretty much the same drive. So comment down below, would you go with the Dodge Challenger or the Dodge Charger? It's tough for me. I think I would probably go with the Challenger simply because you can get the 6-speed manual. I do like driving the manual a lot more. But if you want that family 4-door style sedan, you can go with the Charger and have a sleeper for your daily driving family sedan with car seats in the back. You can have a lot of fun driving that around. But that's gonna wrap it up for today's MOPAR comparison. Comment down below which one you would take and why. Give the video a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.